Okay, so this whole curse situation goes back about 3 decades. Interesting. It was something that was known in the past, but it's kind of been forgotten over the years. But now, whoever this oracle person is, maybe making a return, or it's their little protege that we saw there, as could also be them years later. Satsuki rested atop her futon in the storehouse. Okay, barely gave me enough time to read that. She couldn't sleep.
ね
Nay. Hey, what's up? Hi, kid. She addressed a doll she had in her arms. Okay,
え
yeah, that
何
I was gonna say looks a bit less like a child, more like a kid. Like a kid, Jesus, doll. Satsuki's voice answered back.
今晩はとても冷え込むわね
God, you give me like no time to actually read this shit. Yeah, it just fades away
え
as
え
soon as
そう
it
ね
happens. Okay. He sorts trivial exchanges frequently. Card and slip is nice, much like this one. The handmade doll's limbs dangled limply.
明日は外へ行くのでしょええ楽しみにしているの
Satsuki smiled.
今まではほとんど外に出られなかったからどんな世界が広がっているのか楽しみね
Satsuki raised the doll's arms.
ああ新しい草履を用意してもらわなくてはならないわね新しいものが必要冬用の滑りにくい草履があるそうよそうなの
She lifted the doll's head and made it nod.
神社の石段は急らしいからそれはとても助かるわねええ
Satsuki set the doll by her pillow.
どうしたの眠くなってきたみたい
Though she didn't have a clock to check the exact time, it's probably extremely
眠
late.
りましょう
Jesus Christ, I can barely fucking read. Satsuki laid the covers over the doll as well.
おやすみなさい
And with that, Satsuki closed her eyes. Why does the words keep fading away like that? That sucks. Because I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really take in a lot of what fucking went down there. Because I'm just struggling to make sure I can even fucking see the words. But I guess a girl talks with doll. I guess that's all it was. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really see much of what the conversation was between her and the doll because the fucking text boxes disappeared just as soon as they popped up. So I can't even really glean what the conversation was between them. I just know it's just like, the girl talked with her doll. That's really all I know. He laid down his pen and stretched out his limbs. His bones were aching all over due to the long hours spent on that chair. But now he'd finally reached a good stopping point. All that remained was to proofread it and make it as similar as possible. A stack of manuscript papers sat on the desk in front of him. It was a godsend that he'd acquired the idea for the story. Thanks to that, he'd finally finished writing the novel he'd earnestly desired to write for years and years. He picked up a creased piece of paper sitting next to him. It was his own personal Bible. The compass that had guided him in spinning that tale. Well, that and the girl in the bed. Her flowing black hair hung out like carpet. Okay, so this is... what was his name? Shinji, I think? Shinji Mamiya? Several IV tubes were attached to her neck. Thin cloth swathed over her like a bedsheet, clearly illustrating the contours of her body. The girl possessed no limbs. What's more, her abdomen was unnaturally distended. Ayo? Her abdomen was unnaturally distended? You mean like there's something in there? Which means if she's still alive, still breathing, right, that whatever's in there is not like a ritual object that's, you know, been placed in there after innards got carved out. That's something real in there. You telling me Reiji's pullout game weak as fuck? Oh, Reiji, you knocked up a high schooler. Congratulations. Almost as though she were a giant egg. Oh yeah, an egg. Maybe even one that's fertilized. Wait, no, it wouldn't be Reiji's. Oh god, no, he molested the limbless body, didn't he? He molested the limbless body. Because it wouldn't be Reiji's because it's been over a year and a half. Right? If it were Reiji's, the baby would have been born, you know, after around 9 months, but it's been like what, 18 months or so? Because currently it's like what, early December of 57, and the shit, well, actually, that is like just about 8 months, because that's right. Like, the story started in 56, but like, yeah, there was the time skip after Kosaka before all the shit with Murase and Rokshiki and Kichiki and Toko's problem. And that went down in April 57, right? From what we saw in Masaki's flashbacks, it was April 57. And if it's currently December 57, that means it's been roughly 8 months. So yeah, no. So if Reiji, you know, would have laid some pipe, let's say a month earlier, that'd be roughly 9 months, or even just a few weeks earlier. That's actually, no, that's probably Reiji's. Oh. Now there'd been much damage to this child, also had his blood, the blood of the man who meant so much to me. Okay, so is this Toko's thoughts we're seeing? Thank you for being born. Please live a long, happy life for the both of us. I didn't have much time left. Couldn't even hold my newborn child. Couldn't even tell anyone how I felt in this moment. And so, I submitted myself to the sleep, dragging me into its clutches. All the while praying that my next awakening would be in his arms. Oh! Oh, the movie's not playing on my... Okay, one sec. If I open up window capture, will that show the movie? Nope. Display. Hold up. It's playing the opening movie, but I can't show it. Display? Is it display capture? Will that? No. Display capture. Primary monitor. There we go. Wait, is it cropped? Oh, wait, no, that's the display capture I use for clan ads. It's all cropped. Shit. Hold up. Now, hold up. I got this. Don't worry about it. I don't got it. Will this work? No. Shit. Oh, I'm fumbling this so hard. Whatever, I guess we'll just show this for now. It's gonna be all cropped weird because I was using this for clan ad. Oh, that's quite the visual. Okay, now what? Oh, what the fuck? Why is there a separate window? It like closed and reopened? What the fuck? So actually, I probably could have been recording the full movie, but whatever. This shit's fucking weird. He trudged away from the south entrance until he arrived at Inokashira Park. Okay, are we back to Masaki? Or I have to click back into the game. The park was silent as a tomb, yes. Meanwhile, the reflection of the streetlights swayed in the pond. A beautiful sight. He wanted to commit it to art. Yeah, okay. Uh-huh, we saw this. We read all this. Okay, here we go. He set the knife against his wrist and slit it without even a moment's hesitation. Okay. I thought there was going to be some hesitation. He's going to, like, think about things, and then finally, it's just like, nope. Anyway, 1, 2, 3, go! Seconds later, he felt the ensuing throb and burn. His pale skin appeared to instantly sprout a gaping maw. Blood gushed straight from the wound. Pain struck like a wave. More blood oozed out of it, so if he so much as tensed his arm, even the slightest, sense of numbness rushing through him. He wasn't losing enough blood. Though he tried using all his might, he only managed to slice his vein and nerves, meaning you have to cut again. Crimson blood rained down onto the white snow. Oh, filthy. He needs to look more beautiful, like a flower. He shook his arm. The blood scattered. Even though he should have shed quite a lot of blood already, it didn't look the least bit like a flower. He needed more blood. Thus he tried to make another incision when suddenly his body lurched forward. He crashed onto the snow face first. Cold assaulted him before pain could. Okay, so he didn't fucking bleed enough to bleed out. So eventually passed out from blood loss, but he didn't die soon enough. I don't want to die in the snow. What do you mean? All right, he wanted to die by a tree. That's right. I was gonna say, what do you mean you don't want to die by a you know it's winter. You're in a snow-covered park. But, oh, I don't want to die in the snow. Though he was aware he should have considered that sooner, the thought floated to his mind nonetheless. He remembered his hometown. But just then, he heard someone's voice. Curious, he turned to face its source. Yeah, I knew it was going to be Yukari that finds him. A girl was hovering over him. She looked blurry and her face sounded literal worlds away, probably because he was feeling woozy. Her voice was trembling. Why, you ask? Before he could even formulate an answer, he passed out. Yeah, and she's going to bandage him up, take him back to the Tokisaka residence. Welcome to the world of Purgatorio. I feel so welcomed. One sheep. Sheep? What about sheep? Two sheep. Okay, are we just counting? 3 sheep, 4, 5 sheep, 6 sheep, 7 sheep, more? Ah, okay, another opening movie, gotcha. Excuse me, where exactly am I? Footprints in the snow. Okay, so this is essentially opening credits. First you must conquer 6 trials. See, okay. So now it's referencing the actual novel from the Divine Comedy, which I have not read, so I'm not going to understand what they're getting at. The sheep man guided the wooden girl. What? The sheep man guided the wooden girl. What a statement. I'm sure it would make sense if I knew what the fuck it was talking about. Music by Manyo. Please choose whichever you desire. Choose what? Sheep? Okay, so that's where Toko's hooked up. May she know peace everlasting. Ah. Director, character design, Sugi Namiki. Hell yeah, props. Farewell. Okay. I'm just... Okay. So I'm just curious, who's taking care of the baby then? If Toko's just succumbing to sleep as soon as the baby's born, abandon all hope, ye who enter here. Because why would Shinji take care of it? If he knows that's Tokisaka's bastard child, why would he take care of it? So I feel like Toko's body must have changed hands at some point. Like, Shinji lost some, well, not lose it, she probably got taken away from him at some point. Because otherwise, why would he even bother birthing the baby? Like, helping birth this baby. I mean, I guess he could see it as like Toko's child. Maybe he's like, it's some hyper-religious thing to him. He doesn't know, I don't think, did he know that Toko had slept with Reiji? So maybe he thought it was like some religious thing, like a Virgin Mary type thing. Maybe. That's interesting. There was a girl named Toko Kichiki. There sure was. She and I, Reiji Tokisaka, met just last year, during the spring of '56. She came to me with a rather bizarre job request. Find my true self. At first I dismissed it as a silly schoolgirl's prank. But the further I investigated the matter, the further I realized just how much more complicated the truth was than either of us could have possibly imagined. And while I was searching for answers, she got in an accident. Miraculously, she pulled through, but at a terrible price. Not only did she have an extremely rare blood type, but she also suffered from aplastic anemia, meaning her body was too big to survive. Thus her limbs, broken with little hope of recovery, were surgically amputated to spare remaining blood for her vital organs. But then, she was kidnapped before she even had time to stabilize, all for the petty goal of squeezing money out of a wealthy family whose inheritance Toko had a claim to. The case itself was closed in a flash. However, that didn't bring her back. For she was abducted once again by Shin Katsuragi, serial killer and author, before she could be rescued. Yeah, I forgot what his pen name was, but yeah. Afterward, his trail went cold, with neither me nor the police finding hide or hair of them despite our best efforts. The psychiatrist and believed instigator of his crimes, Makoto Rokshiki, was arrested and interrogated, but those efforts bore no fruit either. I had been searching for Toko for nearly 2 years now, using my free time between jobs to pursue her case. However, I hadn't turned up any leads, leaving my time frozen in April of '56. Korniche 1, Bride. God damn. Wow. God, they're just really giving you a lot, like, off rip. I gotta say, just like off rip, there's like we've already seen the beginning of like these ritual murders. We've already had Toji reintroduced to the story. We've already seen that Toko was pregnant and had a child, and potentially she might be, I'm guessing, comatose at this point because she said she was giving into sleep. I'm guessing comatose since it's called Purgatorio or Purgatory, right? So she's, in a state between, life and death. I'm guessing she's comatose currently. but they said she didn't have long to live, so, who knows how things are gonna go by the end of it. Already, just off rip, there is so much going on, but holy shit, I'm into it. Let's go. I left my office in Shinjuku and took the Chuo line to Kichijoji. Once there, I emerged from the south entrance and stopped by Inokashira Park. Eventually, I took a seat on a bench near the pond. A waterfowl that just crossed the pond was resting its wings nearby. She sure did, bud. I opened the sketchbook I'd brought from my office. Within were Toko's drawings. A Buddhist temple by the edge of the pond. Cherry blossoms blooming in spring. A waterfowl attempting to take flight. An antsy-looking girl. I chuckled as I took in those nostalgic sketches. The girl in this drawing was gone too. She'd been an affable individual and my sister's best friend. Oh, don't remind me, god damn it. Just then I closed the sketchbook and rose to my feet. For the woman I'd been waiting on had finally shown up.
Domo.
Oh, Toko's adopted mother. She was Chizuru Kichiki, Toko's foster mother.
Konnichiwa.
I could tell from the less than cordial tone that she wasn't all that pleased to be here. Still, I was grateful to her for never missing a meeting with me.
どうぞおかけになってください。
いえ、このままで。
Chizuru turned toward the bench, only to hang and shake her head after spying Toko's sketchbook.
そうですか。
何も変化はないのでしょ。
She spoke up before I even had the chance to say my piece. I shook my head. She was referring to the search for Toko.
関東の警察に協力を仰いで不審者の洗い出しなどを行っています。
もうよろしいのではありませんか。
千鶴さん。
Chizuru slowly shook her head.
あの状態で長く生きられないことは分かっています。これ以上時坂さんに負担をおかけするわけには参りません。
自分は負担だと思ったことなど一度もありません。
そうですね。こちらからやめるよう言うことはできないのでしょうね。
そうなりますね。
でしたらこのように報告にいらっしゃることも
迷惑でしょうか。
Chizuru didn't answer. Probably couldn't bring herself to admit it, even though that truly was how she felt.
私はとても身勝手な女です。
Her features warped with guilt.
この子よりも兄のことが気にかかって仕方がないのです。
Ew. Long ago, she'd been in a physical relationship with her brother. I don't even know if it's that long ago. If I'm gonna be honest, I'm pretty sure it's still ongoing. She'd loved him and gotten pregnant with his child, only to lose the baby and become infertile. I heard it was due to the radiation therapy used to treat her leukemia. In any case, her father took pity on her condition and thus adopted Toko. I had no idea exactly how much Yasutada knew about her and Fumiya's relationship. Oh, he knew. Neither did I have a good reason to rake it up. The whole thing was ancient history after all. I don't think it is, though. I still think they're piping.
自分はトコさんを探し続けます。
お強いのですね。
Chizuru shook her head and picked up the sketchbook. She was the one who'd given it to me in the first place.
あの子に本格的に絵を描くことを勧めたのは
そうだったんですか。
That was news to me.
私も昔は写真を撮ったりしていたんです。
戦前ですか。
ええ、その頃から私は体が弱くて空気のきれいな山へ。
それで絵を進めたのですか。
あの子は絵を描くことが好きだったようでしたから少しでも母親らしいことをしてみたかったんだと思います。
Chizuru put down the sketchbook.
それでは私はこれで。
お気をつけて。
Yeah, I can't say I'm too surprised. It's not like Chizuru really cared that much for Toko even when she was alive, so can't be surprised she's just like, yeah, you know what, just stop updating me. The sun had begun setting by the time I returned to Kichijoji Station. It was still too early for dinner. Maybe I'll kill some time at Moonworld then. Moonworld was located a little ways into the shopping district by the station. I stepped through the front door after confirming the place was open.
いらっしゃい。
My arrival was greeted by Kyoko Husky, the owner.
よ
あら時坂くん、まだお酒を出す時間じゃないわよ。
分かってるよ。何年の付き合いだと思ったんだ。
The place only functioned as a bar after
コー
sunset.
ヒー頼むわ。
ええ、
Kyoko took a filter out of the water. In the meantime, I procured a cigarette and chomped down on the end.
あら、やめたんじゃなかったの？
家で吸わないだけだよ。
I lit the cigarette up with my lighter.
ゆかりちゃんのため？
Kyoko slid an ashtray my
じ
way.
ゃあ
I spewed those words out alongside some smoke.
私の前では構わないんだ。
な。なんだそりゃ。
I pinched the cigarette between my fingers and flipped it
吸う
around.
か
いらないわよ。
だろうな。
Kyoko served me a steaming cup of joe. I stopped out my cigarette in the ashtray. Next, I took a sip of the coffee. It was warm, bitter, had a subtle fragrance to it.
今日は客が少ないのか。
The two of us were the only ones in Moonworld. Odd, considering this was the time of day I'd expect to see people coming around for a pick-me-up.
いつものことよ。今は一人でやっているからちょうどいいわ。
She hired the daughter of a mutual acquaintance last year, but the girl had since moved on. Ah, no Hatsune? Fuck.
それにお得意さんもいるしね。
やれ。
Wasn't like I spent much cash on this joint.
あ、ちなみに言うと時坂くんのことじゃないわよ。
なんだそれ。
Now I just felt stupid.
私が焙煎したコーヒー豆が好きなお客さんがいてね。今日もほら、
Oh, she?
そこにあるでしょ。
Fill me in. Kyoko pointed to what resembled a giant bag of flour.
これから取りに来るのよ。小金井の保育所で働いているらしくて、
Oh, Fuyumi?
私と年も近いから仲良くなったのよ。
She works at a nursery? It's Fuyumi, isn't it? And one day, Fuyumi's gonna bring Yukiko along, and Yukiko's gonna be at Moonworld too, and then be like, oh, the girl from school.
仕事帰りに取りに来るのか。
さあ、わからないけど、多分そうじゃないかしら。
だとしても少し遅くないか。保育士なんてせいぜい夕方前には終わってるだろう。
そうでもないみたいよ。保護者の方が夜まで仕事をしていることだってザラだし、子供が帰ってからもすることはたくさんある。
俺には無理だな。
あら、先生役だってきちんと務めていたんじゃないの？
あくまで役だよ。それにあいつらは子供なんかじゃない。
I taught students for an extremely brief period as a cover.
いい子ばかりだったものね。
No. Kyoko nodded solemnly to herself. Well, I mean, yeah, a lot of the ones that died were good kids, sure. Well, even then, some of the ones that died, I mean, okay, like semantics, whatever. Suddenly the door opened.
こんにちは。いらっしゃい、冬美さん。
Ah, I knew it. Kyoko greeted the newcomer with a smile.
はずきちゃん、コーヒー豆できてる？
ええ、もちろんよ。
Kyoko handed over the bag of beans.
お客さん？
The woman, Fuyumi, stuck a peek at me.
別に気にしなくてもいいわよ。
そいつは随分な物言い。
I cut in with a droll chuckle.
紹介するわね。こちら、茅原冬美さん。
ほぼしてます。よろしく。
どうも、時坂レイジと言います。
時坂。あの。
So this is the guy.
あの
I shot Kyoko a probing glare.
別におかしなことは言ってないわよ。
Sure, that's real convincing when you can't even look me in the eye.
茅原さんでしたか。何を吹き込まれたんですか。
あ、大丈夫ですよ。生きていればきっといいこともありますから。
She'd been trying to take my mind off the subject of that nonsense, but she failed in the worst way possible.
はずきちゃん、私もコーヒー飲みたいな。
はい、かしこまりました。
Kyoko went straight to work.
時坂さんは探偵でしたっけ？
ええ、まあ
It seemed Kyoko had given her a crash course on my background.
何かありましたら相談に乗りますよ。
機会があればよろしくお願いするわ。
Fuyumi took a sip of coffee.
あ、そうそう、一つあったわ。
何でしょうか。
うちの保育所ね、人手が足りなくて大変なのよ。手伝ってくれないかしら。
それは誰か別の人に頼んでください。
I went home after killing some time at Moonworld. The house was pitch black. Night had long since arrived, yet the lights were still off. Is Yukari not back yet? The phone rang right as I stepped inside.
はい、もし
Picked up the receiver while taking off my jacket.
ゆかりどう
Yukari interrupted me before I could finish. Sounded like she was crying, though it was hard to really make it out over the phone. Oh, right. I'm sitting here like, did something happen to one of her friends? Why would she be at the... right, she found Masaki when he was trying to kill himself. Right.
落ち着けゆかりわかった朽木病院でいいんだな
I hung up. In the end, Shan told me what was shaking her up. Bad feeling wormed its way through my body. Reminded me of that day nearly 2 years ago.
くそ
I swiftly donned my jacket once again. Nakano was closer by car than train. Thus, I nabbed my car keys over by the phone and raced for the hospital. Oh, but Reiji, you don't want to be zooming on wintry roads, buddy. Like, you just got your license, my guy. I'd hate for you to absolutely crash out your car right now. Corniche 2. Envy. Ah. That's a candle. Wham! The band? Twice? 3 times? 4, 5, 6. Jesus. Tiny hands pressed into the clay at the altar, leaving prints like maple leaves in the mud. The wet lump of earth was glossy and gleamed in the candlelight. Wham, wham, wham. The work was more akin to simple pounding than kneading. She'd been at it for hours now, all without uttering so much as a word. Is this that Satsuki girl? 6 identical altars stood around her. All 7 were consecrated with identical clods. Closer inspection revealed white lumps speckling the clay. An observer would have quickly realized they were bones. The soil had been amassed from 7 graveyards across the settlement. It had been custom since ages past. She smoothed the surface of the clay in order to hide the pieces of bone. Wham, wham, wham. A new stand was prepared for her once the task was done. Small hands scooped up clay from the 7 altars, then set it atop the new altar. And afterwards, she soaked the pile of earth with some water from a ladle, then began kneading once more. Wham, wham, wham. She mixed the soil and continued until it was firm enough. Wham, wham, wham. The candles flickered. Though the snow wasn't blowing in, the winter breeze was still cold. Her tiny fingertips grew red and cold, turning number by the second. But even so, she couldn't afford to stop. After all, she knew exactly how important this ritual was. Wham, wham, wham. The clay absorbed the water and became nice and firm. She then took the earth into her hands and rolled it into a ball. All the while molding the shape she'd been taught. She created a neck and head before lengthening its limbs. Next, she etched grooves using her fingernails, sculpting a face. The end result was a rudimentary clay doll that loosely resembled a human. However, she'd been informed that this was, in fact, the shape of a human resting in its mother's womb. She stood atop the remaining soil on the altar, procured a piece of paper out of her kimono, and held it in her mouth. Afterwards, she grabbed a dirk and unsheathed it. It was an important step for completing the clay doll. Remembering that, she gently set the cold steel against her wrist. What? The tip of the blade pricked her soft skin. Though she'd been told there'd be no pain, she was still scared of hurting herself, so her hands trembled all the while. She took a deep breath, and then after closing her eyes and quelling her racing heart, she gingerly dragged the knife. Ultimately, she felt practically nothing. The thin crimson line trickling down her wrist greeted her as she opened her eyes. Tiny red globes surfaced and popped. Blood was flowing out of her. She clenched her fist and offered her arm to the clay doll. Blood dribbled onto the freshly crafted fetus's mouth. The scarlet drop seeped into its lips like a baby drinking milk. The trail trickled down from its head to its torso. That lump of clay soaked up each and every spatter, as if absorbing them into its body. The rudimentary infant doll sucked up the blood, turning its body black. She took the paper out of her mouth and used it to clean the dirt before sheathing the sharp equipment. Once that was done, she wrapped a cloth around her wrist to stem the bleeding. A small 21 by 21 Polonian box sat next to the altar, just the right size to house the infant clay doll. She carefully settled it into the box so as not to break it. With that settled, she closed the lid. Moments later, she rose to her feet, her work done. However, she lurched and stumbled a few steps. Fortunately, she managed to maintain her balance, reverently cradling the box all the while. She ventured outside. There, she slowly set foot on the earth without any footwear. The combination of snow and the night breeze chilled her to the very core. White breaths escaped her lips as she plodded down the road with the shrine. The stone path had been thoroughly cleaned, down to the tiniest speck of snow. However, the ground was still cold as ice. Her gait was slow and deliberate so she would not trip. Candles served as her guide forward. Up ahead was an area demarcated. I'm gonna have to Google that one. Demarcated. Set boundaries. Demarcate. Demarcate. Okay, I was right. To set the boundaries or limits of. Okay. Cool. Alright, I have to click in the video. One of the stones in their midst had been removed. She bowed and kneeled before it. A gaping hole had been dug beneath the missing stone. The altars from before were lying there. She held the box aloft and bowed her head before setting it into the hole. After offering a prayer, she scooped dirt off the altars and poured it around the box. The work was thorough so as not to leave any gaps. She filled the hole using all the dirt from the altars. Eventually the job was finished, the box completely submerged under the dirt. Two adults bordering her lifted the missing flat tile of stone and lowered it. The stone was returned precisely to its rightful place. After prostrating herself before it, she rose to her feet. She suffered no vertigo this time. She bowed twice, clapped twice, and bowed one more time, as per worshipping tradition before turning around. The oracle slowly passed between the adults flanking her and disappeared amidst the dancing flecks of snow. The tale now turns to a story from before the war. Okay. Hitogata? The setting was a snowy settlement in the mountains, back during the season when cold wind blew in from the Sea of Japan. But though the air was literally bone-chilling, there wasn't a cloud in the sky, fortunately enough. Or perhaps that was bad luck, given how such weather only served to make the day even colder. Naori Kuroya ruminated over that quandary as he made his way home. His settlement, known as Hitogata, was located in the mountain range that made up the border between the prefectures of Toyama and Gifu. Residents eked out a meager living through agriculture and sericulture. Snow soaked into his shoes even when he passed through Maehina, the most traveled part of the settlement. That said, no cars ever came through Hitogata, so residents only ever removed as much snow as necessary for their own daily activities. Naori literally followed in his friend's footsteps. As the oldest of the group, he was responsible for watching over them.
はしゃぎすぎると用水に落ちるぞ、リヒト。
Is that young Masaki? The irrigation ditches that carried water to the paddy fields were currently buried under heaps of snow. An old man living in Hidarihina, Jesus, had fallen into one just a day ago and had to be brought to the Kuroya clinic, which also served as Naori's home.
心配しなくても大丈夫だよ。
Well, no, you've kind of got a similar face to like the front-facing images we've seen of Masaki. Because I'm guessing that's what this is. The boy marching ahead they called Rihito, Ayato Hinagami, turned around and faced him.
お前はこの前、雪下ろししてる時に屋根から落ちたばかりだろ。
Yeah, the guy on the left definitely looks like Masaki a lot more than the guy on the right.
あれはナオちゃんが下から雪玉ぶつけたからだろ。呼んでもお前が気づかなかったからだよ。
Naoto raised his leg and kicked a huge wave of snow at Ayato like a soccer player trying to score from halfway across the field. Ayato leapt out of the way of the incoming rush of snow. That only encouraged Naori to chase after him.
ちょっと
But someone grabbed his sleeve before he could, looked behind him, revealing it to be a girl covered in snow, shooting him a very dirty glare.
悪い若女将
The girl was Yu Hutami, granddaughter and future successor to the owner of Hutami Inn. Though she merely helped around at the end for the time being due to her age, her mature personality and manner of speech already granted her the dignity she needed to play the part.
雪をかけるんだったらリヒトだけにしてよね。
僕だけだったらいいのかよ
リヒトだったら避けられるでしょ。
まるでおひなやグリコがどんくさいみたいに聞こえるな
Ahina referred to Karen, Ayato's twin sister. And the other one
私は別に運動音痴じゃないわよ。
was Megari Takamiya, or Guriko, to her friends.
グリコは一粒300メートル走れるから大丈夫よ。
走らないわよ。靴が汚れちゃうもの。
雪をかぶると服だって濡れちゃうものね。
The two fashion-conscious friends nodded at each other.
カレン
何兄様。
The snowball welted Karen. I don't care if it's pronounced Kata, and I'm gonna call her Karen. Karen hunched down and rolled a snowball as her cheeks inflated with indignation. However, Ayato simply seized that chance to flee.
元気ね。
Yu heaved an exasperated sigh of white steam right next to Naori. Okay. Yep. The settlement's police station was located in an area called Maihina, which was the entrance to Hitogata. It was the one and only station of its kind in the settlement. However, the building was tiny and only housed a single officer, Shinobu Takayama, a Hitogata local himself. Though the country was in the midst of the Second Sino-Japanese War, this mountain was generally relaxed due to the absence of military police and nearby military facilities in the area. No real crimes had occurred since Takayama had returned to the settlement as a policeman. The most excitement he ever got was stuff like breaking up escalating fights between senior citizens that ended up in one of them swinging a knife around or settling farmers' border disputes. But the grand majority of his work consisted of patrolling the settlement and upholding order. Today was chilly, however, which was why he'd parked himself in front of the station's wood stove since that morning and kept watch to ensure the building didn't burst into flames.
寒いな
Takayama bleated as he hovered his hands above the stove and rubbed them together from time to time. Steam was rising from the dented kettle resting atop the stove. He would have loved to heat some sake and have a shot to warm himself from the inside out. Fortunately, he was on the clock and all, so he resisted the urge. Instead, he poured hot water into a teapot and brewed some tea.
だっち
But ironically, the cup was now too hot for his freezing hands. He pinched his earlobes to cool his scorching fingers. Afterward, he took a sip of the scalding tea.
暇だな
Takayama played around with an orange gifted to him by an old lady in the neighborhood. He knew he could always go on patrol for a change of pace, but that sounded like far too much of a hassle. He didn't want to break a sweat again, after all the assistance he'd provided over the last few days in the way of sweeping snow, if he could help it. Shoveling the snow on the stone stairs to use Shigasa's shrine in Atahina had been particularly grueling. Still, just having Saya, the chief priest's daughter, thank him had been all the reward he needed. Suddenly, the door opened.
寒い
だからナオちゃんが言ったでしょ兄様。はしゃぎすぎると危ないって。
A group of students led by a boy covered in snow, Ayato, filed into the station.
おいお前ら
お邪魔します。
ああどうもじゃなくて
The old friendly police officer. You guys can't just, hi, Mr. Officer. Oh, hey, what's good?
こんにちは。
The students had crowded the already cramped station before Takayama even had time to stop them.
今日も冷えますね高山さんまったくここは遊び場じゃないんだぞ
Takayama grumbled and tried to sit back down, only to realize his chair had been stolen. And so he reluctantly leaned against the wall instead. His basket of oranges had emptied in a flash.
集まるんだったら隣の出張所にしろよあっちは才蔵じいさんがうるさいし
Ayato didn't sound the least bit ashamed.
まああのじいさんは昔からやかましいからな
クキさんと大神は高校以来じゃ顔だからね。うちのおばあちゃんよりもおひなのとこの方が上でしょ。
ひな神は別格だよ
Takayama glanced at the two scions of the Hinagami family. Ayato and Karen. The Hinagamis were the clan that ruled this region, Hitogata village, since ages past. And over the last few decades, they'd expanded their influence to a startling degree. While their authority would normally have waned with time and they stayed as mere leaders of a rural settlement in the middle of nowhere, they'd recently established a pharmaceutical company that brought prosperity to the village. Takayama himself had been raised by his deceased parents to show the Hinagamis respect.
あ、カレンのみかんでかくないか？
そんなことないと思いますけど、交換しますか？
Though it seemed their inheritors hadn't the slightest idea just how much weight their family name held.
なおちゃんさ、前に言ってた隠れ家っていつ連れて行ってくれるんだ？バカ、ここで言うことじゃないだろ。隠れ家？
Naya's countenance contorted bashfully.
いや、山の中にそういうのを作ったんですよ。
まあ、そういうことをやりたくなる年頃だってのは。
Takayama was no different, having modified his family shed to build a private space for himself as a kid. Though his father had yelled his ear off once the truth came out, naturally.
危ないことに使うんじゃないぞ。
大丈夫ですよ。うちの親父に怒鳴られますから。
Naya's father, Yuzuru, had originally been a member of the Hinagami family before marrying into the Kuroya family. In other words, the Kuroya name also held a lot of water in the area.
ま、お前たちはそんな妙なことしないと思うけどな。
And until one of them becomes a fucking murderer.
そう言っていただけると光栄です。
Naya smiled.
いつ欧米列強と戦争が始まってもおかしくないこのご時世じゃ、村にいられんようになればすぐ兵隊に取られるんだからな。
Takayama tried slipping in a little warning.
犯罪歴がある人は徴兵されませんよ。広告。
However, Naori deflected it with finesse.
わかってるさ。
そもそもここは徴兵検査こそしますけど、実際に徴兵されるなんてことはないって
バカ。
そうなのかい？
Takayama tried to bury the subject right then and there, but Ayato urged Naori to continue before he could.
まあ、俺がそう聞いただけだから、本当は違うのかもしれないけどさ。
But Naori's response was ambiguous, as they would realize what Takayama had been getting at.
とにかく、お前たちは真面目に勉学に励んでいればいいんだよ。
その辺は心配しなくても問題ありませんよ。
Naori scanned the rest of his friends.
お前は医学部か？
どうせ後を継がないとなりませんからね。
Naori shrugged and took an orange.
そろそろ帰ります。
勉学に目覚めたのか？
ここでしていけばいいのに。
You stood in front of the stove and opened one of her textbooks.
自分の部屋の方がはかどるからね。
そうかもね。おひな、グリコ、帰りましょう。
You interrupted the two girls chatting away like there was no tomorrow.
もう
おしゃれの話なんていつでもできるでしょ。
そうだけど、若女将だって興味。
別に。こんな田舎で着飾っても仕方ないでしょうに。
他に娯楽がないからおしゃれをするんじゃない。
Karen nodded approvingly.
今度東京で流行ってるファッションを教えてあげるわね。
そんな本より文学史を読みたいけど。
で、お前たちは帰らないのか？
So your kids gonna get the fuck out, or Takayama exasperatedly gestured toward the door.
帰りますよ。ほら、カレン。
分かってますってば。
The students headed for the door one by one.
それじゃあ高山さん。
せめて用事がある時くらいにしてくれ。
そんなこと言ってたら誰も来ないと思いますけど。
それでいいよ。暇なのが一番さ。さあ、帰った帰った。
Takayama finally reclaimed his spot in front of the stove now that he'd shooed the students out. Unfortunately, all his oranges were gone. Not my oranges.